No, it's the first time it's been introduced.
Okay.
It's a draft.
Useful
Useful
information one as well.
About any concerns you have about that.
They'll introduce themselves.
That's right, because
The visitors
And we've approved the CCF.
Right.
So we ignore that then, Chris.
It puts it.
yes, yeah.
A new
Is that your last in between office and fields?
As I said, we're going to leave hands ready. I'm in the way of residents, because they don't put the chairs out nicely for residents. It means everyone's coming.
Postpone the building decision. December before we.
Is this out your way here, say?
Yeah.
February, it's over here.
Yeah, well, I think we're getting much time to do this.
We actually got building works. And then we then got
Something like that, yeah.
Put you in there and we just leave you and have to stay.
Well, I'm doing some of that tomorrow, feature a course.
Oh, well, okay.
That's the way it is, that's the way it is.
Yeah, we pay them.
Given.
So next time I consider this place a similar experience.
I don't think we could legitimate it. Well, we'll see. Oh, yeah. Got any time?
You better bring a 3 months with you, think it might be a long.
Jonathan, is your head filled with heavy praise?
I believe it.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. You get the brief.
Well, when you say we, that's me. I took them first. I would have done So I've got it on the first one.
Some pictures.
Yeah, I saw.
Well, still, outraged at how high suicides.
Yeah, well, you can figure on the end of it.
Oh,
That's fair enough.
How hard was it?
We're on here live, so be careful what you say in the back row, because that one picks it up very well. Because that's the town council.
If you keep your scathing remarks this way, then
And all of that.
it's all going that way.
And all that,
Isn't it just?
And this one's just recording the main chamber. And Sarah's visually noting everything. We're all doing our best to pay for just the chairman of the Rutland County Council. We're still saying chairman.
There's a lot of Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this evening's Oakham Town Council meeting on today, the 12th of November, 6:30. So to begin proceedings, and before we formally start today's meeting, I would just like to hold a minute's silence for the sad passing of former councillor and Mayor of Oakham, Joyce Lucas, who sadly passed away last week. So if you all kindly observe a minute's silence, much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. For those of you that know new Councillor Lucas, I think you'll all agree she was quite a formidable force and did a great deal for this town. And yes, the place is a slightly less colourful one without her. Thank you, everyone. Right, so on to agenda item number 1. We have apologies and reasons for absence. Have we had an apology from?
We've had a apology from Anna.
Yes.
And Chris Clark, didn't he? Surprised he hasn't given his apologies as far as I'm aware. But Anna has.
Anna's
done council.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
So let's see if Councillor Clark attends this evening. Do I have a proposer to accept the apologies and reasons for absence tonight? Proposer. Do I have a seconder? Thanks very much, Councillor Harris. All those in favour of acceptance? Thank you very much. Abstentions? 1. That's the whole cohort. Recorded, Councillor Brooks?
No, it's fine. Thank you.
Item number 2, declarations of members' interest and applications for any dispensations. Any members tonight interested in any of the goings on? Seems not.
No.
Item number 3, deputations from our gallery members of the public. Does anyone have anything they would like to say this evening? Well, thank you very much for your attendance, nonetheless. Item number 4, to confirm the accuracy of the minutes of our last meeting, the 22nd of October, and also to ratify the meeting minutes from the 8th of October. Also, does anyone have? Councillor.
Can you do them separately, because I wasn't here for them?
Very good.
Just before we go further, I just had apologies from Councillor Clark. So could we accept that too, please? I know it's slightly out of order, Chair, but I just got it on the phone from his phone and said he was sorry he couldn't make it.
Sure thing. Let's revisit that. All those in favour of accepting Councillor Clark's absence today? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll do these on 2 separate ones. Let's start with then the minutes of the most recent meeting, the 22nd of October 2025. Councillor Brooks has observations. Go ahead.
I was starting with the extraordinary. I can't comment on it, so I wasn't here.
So we're on the.
But I would have liked to make a comment on general because,
In general, does
yeah.
it relate to the accuracy?
Are you
of the
asking
meeting
us to
minutes?
stand now?
Please.
Yes, that's the good thing. Well, the minutes, I know we're starting to improve, but this time, to be honest, I couldn't be bothered to because of the frictions that are caused by pointing out errors, and there are names spelt wrong, and it frustrates me because this is the legal document of the council, and I know I keep repeating myself, but when are we going to get to a situation where we actually get minutes that don't have mistakes in?
Do you have any comment on the actual content of the
Well, I
minutes
did, the
themselves?
spelling of names and other issues, but it's too long for me to go through again.
Councillor Brooks did give me a comment which I corrected, and they've all been corrected, the errors that Councillor Brooks sent me in an email.
Fantastic.
But these are all in the public domain and it doesn't look very good.
This is draft, and when they're drafted on the public domain as such, once they're corrected, they will go to the public domain as accepted. If you could sign the bottom sheet, please, Chair. that would be
As soon as we ratify,
Oh, yeah,
that
sorry,
we've
yeah.
accepted those, I certainly shall. Any further commentary on the meeting minutes from the extraordinary meeting on the 22nd of October? Councillor Ainsley.
Just a quick clarification, has the 10, 15, 14 exterminating, has that been corrected?
Yes, thank you.
Do I have a proposer for acceptance of the meeting minutes on 22nd? Councillor Ainsley proposes. Second, Councillor Brooks.
No, can I just raise one point on that, which I think is quite important because it actually says on the minutes here that I was in attendance, and then it says I apologise for not being in
No,
attendance.
that's been correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other observations before we?
Sorry, I didn't stand.
No, before we move to the vote.
I can't vote on that one.
Correct. So which one are we voting on?
On the 22nd, Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you.
So Councillor Ainsley has proposed that we accept those. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Harris. All those in favour of acceptance of the meeting minutes of the 22nd of October, the extraordinary meeting.
Which one are we going for?
22nd of October, the most recent. The extraordinary meeting.
Okay.
Item 4.2, apologies, I've done that out of order.
No, it doesn't matter.
Sorry, can we have that vote again, please? One. Okay. Against?
Oh, no.
Abstaining?
Same as it wasn't.
Presumably Councillor Brooks
Yeah,
abstains
yeah.
also. Recorded or otherwise, no? Happy?
I think as long as it's corrected, the work here is fine.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, moving on
Can you
to,
sign that?
yes, sure. Thank you, Mark. Okay, on to the accuracy of the meeting minutes of the 8th of October 2025. Any comment for those? No. Do I have a proposer to accept the meeting minutes of 8th? Thank you very much, Councillor Wadsworth, the seconder. Thank you, Councillor Brooks. All those in favour of acceptance of those meeting minutes, that is unanimous. Marvellous, thank you, everyone. Sorry about the scroll there.
It's your signature.
Well, very well, on to then item number 5, councillors' reports and questions. Do we have anything from the floor? Councillor Wadsworth.
Hi, just a quick update. I'd like to pass on our thanks to Emma from Tesco's, who's donated 10 boxes of chocolates and 10 packs of mince pies for the turning on of the Christmas tree. So we'll have those to be given away to the public. I have circulated today the pictures that we've been sent in by the children for the chance to turn on the Christmas tree. We will be contacting the winner later once we've got all of your nominations in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wadsworth, and if we can, please, Clark, can we send a letter of thanks for the generous offer to Tesco's and staff, please? Thank you very much. Councillor Brooks.
Yes, I would just like to thank the chairman for coming along to the first officially recognised, we've got Remembrance Sunday in observance of the 2 minutes silence on Sunday. I know that the residents who have been asking for it for some time appreciated it and appreciated yours and she's not here, our deputy chairman's attendance. And I appreciated it as well. As you know, I stood there as in my capacity as Oakham South, one of the Oakham South ward councillors, and it was a very meaningful, poignant thing. And I, although I was absent at the meeting where you very kindly approved it, and I noted the minutes say that you would like to take it on, I wasn't that keen for Oakham Town Council to take it on at the very beginning, but now there's been significant changes to the county service where there was no outside afternoon as such silence or last post. I think that maybe next year we could be looking at maybe having a little bit of a musical accompaniment, a cornet or something, and I will shut up and sit down so that the residents know that there is a 2 minute silence at the 11 o'clock.
That's very kind, thank you, Councillor Brooks. Yes, it was a poignant and thought-provoking service. Any further questions, or we do actually have some questions, don't we?
We've got a councillor's question, but I think with all that's been going on behind the scenes, I don't think it needs to be read out now. It can be withdrawn.
Well, we've had a question from you, which has been responded to, hasn't it? So
Yeah, but
that's the status of it.
But if I can also mention that I still haven't had a response to what I perceived were more important questions from the previous meeting, where I was told that I would be told about that in private because of the exempt nature of some of the answers might become.
I will arrange for that meeting.
Yeah, but this one has been answered in a letter by Paul yourselves and that, and I think everyone has it, so we don't really need to go through it.
So you're happy to withdraw that?
Yeah, I think interesting. Thank you.
Any further questions that have been declared or otherwise? No, thank you. Item number 6 then, Chairman's report.
Thank you.
That is me, thank you. Yeah. Well, sometimes it doesn't feel that way. Yes, we were, the majority of the council were overjoyed to attend a helpful conduct committee meeting with RCC. So thank you very much to the members that joined us that were part of that. They made some very useful observations about the way that we do things at OTC, which we're looking to implement forthwith. So thank you again for the nature of your support, RCC. And of course the remembrance services over the weekend and also yesterday. Again, very poignant, and it was lovely to see such a great turnout of all of the remembrance events. It was a very, very well responded to set of services this year. So, yeah, that was quite lovely. And I encourage anyone next year to come along also onto your report, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, you've got the newsletter, which is in the pack as always. I'm sorry, I've got a list of 10 items here, so I'll try as brief as possible to tell you what's been going on. First thing is, me and Councillor Ainsley met with Oakham Town Tennis Club to talk about the future of the club, because obviously we've got a building surveyor that is less than complimentary about the present structure and its maintenance. And so we're slowly, I think this will be an ongoing dialogue. We've got a new chairman who's very open to talk and see your way forward for this and discuss potential ways forward for the club and to renovate or whatever the Thames Club. Then we had a meeting about the Open Town Centre Action Plan and how we're progressing with RCC. So we met with RCC on the 6th of November. We had an interesting discussion with RCC. It seems as though the government are pressing ahead very quickly now with the second tranche of unification, if you want to call it that. It's been called many things, many controversial things, whereby it seems as though this will be the last time RCC will be setting a budget as such. So this is the last time they will be able to actually set a meaningful budget. After that, the shadow authority will come in and will put some kind of restrictions on what's left of Rockingham County Council, whether it be Lincolnshire or Leicestershire. Both are vying for that crown. And a difficult situation for RCC at the moment, to be honest. We obviously did the flag flying, we did Remembrance Day, as Councillor Brooks knows, and we've put our flag at half-mast for this week in note of Councillor Joyce Lucas' unfortunate passing. I also have got now, just to give you a few updates, Sprinkling Light invoice. I've had the first, for those who are new councillors, we had an unmetered electricity bill for the street lighting, which is not byways in Oakham. There was an agreement, it goes back in the past of time, where we pay that electricity bill. The councillors who are from the county council know about this agreement. It's about 25k, so it's within the budget for this year. It changes. There was that horrendous one where it was 38k at one time. Yeah, remember when the electricity bill went through the roof? It went through the roof here too. So it's back to normal-ish times. The other thing we've had is a survey of the trees now. Anybody who wants a survey, it's about 50 pages long, by Stuart Pitt from RCC has now come through. I've got a first estimate. There are 24 character category 2, which is legally required, we have to do. So there's 24 of those. The category 3 is 15. Most of those are in cuts close by large, 22 by the, I seem to remember off cuts close. We've had an estimate already from one contractor. I'm trying to getting another quote. It will be something around 10 to 15k to do the work. So we'll get quotes for that, and I will bring them back hopefully to the December meeting, because everybody, I'm sure, new councillors are aware, probably aware too, we have to get this sorted out by March at the latest, because the birds will be back and we need to do it before that. So it's a bit of a rushed agenda on that, so I will try and bring that back as quickly as I can. I've arranged also for a player inspection. It'll either be with Seagrave or Compact, but these are small. It's about £300, so it's not a big thing, but that will hopefully be done before Christmas now. The other thing I need to make you aware of is that Oakham School have also put in a significant complaint to RCC about the lack of markings within Oakham. In other words, pedestrian crossings where you can hardly see them now because the white paint has been eroded. And they are saying that they've had a significant increase in the near misses over the last few periods. So they're getting increasingly concerned because of the markings being so poor in Oakham, and I can attest to that, that they have real concerns, and I've evaluated this situation. Right, there's one other thing I need to talk to. I'm sorry about this, Chair. LRAC training. We've now got a situation, and I think the Chair agrees, we need to have an evening meeting with LRAC on code of conduct training fairly urgently now. I've got dates for you, and I'd like you to tell me which ones you've considered. The 3rd of December is the one I'd like, at 6:30 to 8:30, and it will be with, I nearly called him the big cheese. I don't want to repeat it, though it's on tape. John Cockine, so it's the chief executive effectively an ORAC will come here and do a session for 2 hours on code of conduct, which I think all councillors here know is becoming an issue, and we need all councillors to be trained up to acceptable behaviour, especially in public. So that will, if you can tell me that so it's the 1st, 2nd or 3rd of December he will come. It will cost us £250, I think that's there or thereabouts. I think that's good.
Second or third.
Did
you say 1st, 2nd or 3rd?
Yeah, 1st, 2nd, that's a Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday of the 1st. I think it is. But don't look like strange like that.
No, I'm just trying to work out properly.
I'm not Welsh ones, so yes.
Obviously, you pick, you're the chair. The other thing that seems to have slipped us by is, and I wonder if the council want to consider it, still got time, is the fact that I've noticed in the press and everything, many, Stamford certainly, Grantham now, and I think Market Harbour are offering free parking in the Christmas period. We've got on a scheme whereby we can subsidise that. It's about, I'm looking at my county council here, about 1,000, 1,500 per day to do that. So we've still got time if we want to do that, and maybe councillors can consider that. So that's the end of my report for that bit.
Thank you very much.
My training is ongoing. I've nearly done the ILCA. I've just got one more question block to finish. Then I'm doing FILCA next month, and I will be starting SILCA in the new year. The SILCA is a new syllabus, so it's being delayed somewhat. It's different from any other SILCA before it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Nichols was at the very start of that.
Yeah, it's just a quick question on about the RCC monitoring officer meeting. Obviously, I wasn't there.
Yes.
So I was just wondering if there was going to be a report or a brief. Or if that's appropriate, just for information for those of us who weren't there.
I'm sure we can pull together a brief précis and some action points for the council and circulate that. Yes, certainly. If you want making a note of that.
No, absolutely. Well, we're recording it anyhow, so.
Yeah. So just as long as it's come as an action.
I'll go through it all.
Then Councillor Wadsworth.
Just a quick, usually RCC fund the December free parking. So we need to see what they've got planned for this year before we start committing to anything.
I'm sure that we can put our collective heads together as the 2 authorities and work something out.
Yeah.
Could you maybe bring the county councillor in and see what he feels at this stage? It's up to you.
Well, that's rather putting people on the spot. I think.
I know, well,
I would say customer practice. You know, if it's been, whichever way it's been done in the past, reasonable to assume it could be done again in the present. I'm not sure about the future.
Dangerous precedent, council claim.
Well, answering it without answering it.
But we can certainly explore that and work out between the two authorities a sensible way forward. Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
I'm slightly in the same position as Councillor Nichols over the monitoring officers meeting. I won't go into public reasons why I didn't attend, but I did write after a discussion with one of our staff members whether the monitoring officer would be happy to provide minutes on not the details but the significant governance points that were raised that would affect me and our staff. And I got a response back saying no, and it was up to the people who attended to highlight that to the staff if felt necessary. And obviously people like me who weren't here, so maybe we could have a meeting with the chairman and the clerk, maybe at the same time we're doing the question answering that was outstanding, so that if there was anything that you felt, chairman, that was relevant to me or any councillors that I missed out of, that you could just highlight, because it's not going to come from a monitoring officer.
Yeah, I think that's quite a reasonable request, Councillor Brooks, and I think that, you know, for the benefit of Councillor Nichols, the staff and yourself, we can certainly cover some of the key aspects and action points arising from that meeting.
Yeah, because I thought it was important for the clerk to know the governance things, not everything that was raised in the meeting, because he is responsible to ensure we are following governance.
overall, I suppose the theme I would characterise as being generally very supportive. And we've certainly got some things that we can work on. Yes, but RCC have generally been very supportive of the situation and offered some good ideas. Yeah, go ahead, Clark.
Just sorry, being there was 10, I just forgot one, but it's an important one for Councillor Brooks in particular. We wrote, as you know, to Moores, our external auditor, and I asked the question and made it clear that the email they got from Councillor Brooks was not authorised by the council. They got a response to them from Caroline Rossiter, their engagement lead. Thank you for your email. To avoid any possible confusion, I will note on the file that any objection correspondence from Councillor Brooks, whether it has been sent from his official email address or not, is not official correspondence to the council. Just to be clear, objections or points raised by this stores would never be taken to be formal council correspondence, as it is a right to provide to electors. Obviously, this right equally applies to sitting councillors, but perhaps as electors and not councillors.
That's good, because that's what I said from the beginning.
Lovely. Right. On to then, sorry, Councillor Harris.
Well, we're going to decide on the 1st, 2nd or 3rd of December. That's where we'll go.
You can have, I gave the option.
Otherwise,
Personally,
we know everybody out.
You could have a vote if not.
Well, to be honest, I'm going to have to consult the diary, if that's all right.
Can we do that by email then, please?
I would prefer a Wednesday.
Let's
do it by email.
If that's what, if no one's got an objection to at least taking a breath so that we can consult our respective diaries and come back on the most popular. If we're split somewhere down the middle, it might be prudent to look at 2. Let's see what everyone's availability is.
I'm going to set a deadline to actually submit the responses at the end of next week or something. The next one. This week.
Should we do
Friday this week?
Yep.
Friday this week would be best. Is that okay with councillors?
Not a formal resolution, but are we all
Yeah.
happy with the theme of responding to our availability for the conduct meeting by the end of play this week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Super. Okay. Oh.
There's our Christmas dinner at some point, and I don't know what day it will be. It will be decided next week. I'll do what I can.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Some dinners are important, you know.
Highly important pieces of it. Okay, on to, item number 8 then, correspondence received.
Covered that with the open schools, and then
Splendid.
anybody who wants to see that, I can pass it on to them.
Thank you. On to item number 9, we have, I'm going to ask you a relatively direct question, Councillor Brooks, because I know that this is usually a bit of a bugbear for you. Are you happy with how the payments over 5,000 are displayed?
No. I've seen, by the way, there's another sheet should be on your desk in front of you, which now has 2 extra columns. It has the invoice number. It also now has an index number that is unique to Oakham Town Council. So when the auditor asks for that invoice, unlike the invoice number, which is neither here nor there really, yet they will be able to find within 5 minutes, no less a minute, where that invoice is in our system, because that index is unique. So each invoice we pay will have an index which is unique, either a credit payment or a payment. So everyone this financial year has an index which is in Rialtas, so I can look it up. It's indexed in there. There is now no way an auditor cannot find an invoice or a cheque that we have got.
Councillor Brooks.
The ongoing problem I have, and it seems to stop before, I've said this before Chris Evans became our clerk, is that there is no proper audit trail, because this sheet of paper which lists them doesn't actually need to be kept. We always used to, I know you hate me going on about the past, but it is a requirement in the audit trail that each payment over £5,000 should should be a single agenda item so that it can be clearly minuted, and it must link back to the original minute when the council approved it. So that's what I'm asking for, is just a simple thing like, and also like what I find frustrating is that we're going to be asking whether we actually want to pay, say, £29,000 for the bus later in the meeting, but you're asking us to approve it here. So, yes, because that's what it says, we're going to approve. Just to consider and approve. So it shouldn't be there, it should come after the bus thing as an agenda item, so that if we approve to pay the council £29,000, we want to carry on with that scheme, we then come to the agenda item and we say, yes, we approve it, and that's the proper audit trail. To have it now where it's asking us to approve it now is wrong, because if we then come to the agenda item coming up and say, actually, we don't want to fund the hopper anymore, makes us look a bit silly.
Could I just address that urgently?
Go ahead.
Okay. Councillor Brooks, let's be clear about this. It is on the agenda item. If it's not approved, then obviously I agree we shouldn't pass it. We can pass it easily in this resolution with a caveat that says if the agenda item, which is obviously 14, if the agenda item 14 is passed, then this will go through. So it's easy to put a resolution together, Councillor Brooks, that says this payment will be approved subject to item 14 being approved. If it's not approved, then clearly it won't. Could you tell me, please, Councillor Brooks, how, for instance, Rutland County Council's business rates is going to have a minute reference?
Because when we have ongoing payments, when we set our budget at the beginning of the setting of the budget, we approve reoccurring payments.
So that would just be.
So that's already pre-approved in the budget, the annual budget.
So every one of these,
your salaries.
what you're saying is every one of these could have that.
Well, no, because we don't know what the bus is going to be. It's gone up £3,500 this year. You know, we don't know what it is. So, and that's why we need a clear, I don't want to argue, but we need to clear. But the auditor's written in the report that we are not following procedures.
He doesn't say about this though.
It does, because I wrote to him and he said, I can't answer you, but I will point you to the audit of 2021 where I raised it.
Well, I wasn't here at 20.
No, that's what I said. I said at the beginning, you weren't here when these issues started, so I'm not attacking you. I'm just asking, because I asked this at every meeting, as Chris has raised it today, are you happy? It's been raised at every single meeting for a year, and we need to get to the situation where we can just follow the correct audit procedure. That's what I'm asking.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks, for that.
And it's just the way we've fallen into bad practice.
No, we don't.
So, Councillor Ainsley,
Thank you. Do you mind if I say a bit about that?
please.
Will we be having an opportunity to talk about that?
Can you stop it?
Okay, have you finished, Councillor Brooks?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to make two clarifications. One is that we minute the authority to spend. This is minuting the release of funds. There's a distinct difference between the two. And actually, you did vote to approve the two appendices that now appear in our financial regulations that detail that. So I would request that you have a quick look and just make sure that you're familiar with those two appendices in the Open Town financial regulations. Secondly, the business about whether this needs to go into, whether the authority for release of funds needs to be itemised other than in a single document, is we have taken advice on that, and this is absolutely fine for what we're doing here. The third point, what we do here, as long as it can be minuted, and it is minuted, remember these things are minuted, so there is a record kept. So, and the third thing I'd like to say is that the Oakham Hopper payment, ideally, in a perfect world, that Oakham Hopper release of funds should have been postponed until item 14. So we first of all gave the authority for expenditure, and then secondly we give the authority to release the funds for the open hopper payment, open hopper. Now, I quite agree with what the clerk was saying, in that actually it's easy enough to minute the recordings of the release of expenditure as a minuted item that says item for the open hopper is subject to the approval of item 14 in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, so to move on past that, because I think we've gone up to death today, does anyone have any queries or questions regarding any of the actual machinations of the finances, Councillor Wadsworth?
Okay, 9.1, just a couple of questions on there. Travis Perkins, on the 8th of October, just trying to work out the months there. There's an in and an out. Obviously, a mistake's been made for something. But what was it actually for?
Yep, I can do that.
Yeah? Going further down, we've had some banners made by Pumpkin Print Limited, £460. I just wondered how many banners that was. And is there a possibility that we could look into, instead of just going with Pumpkin Print every time for our banners, could we have a re-look at other providers? Because I think we're spending a lot of money on banners that we shouldn't be spending. I think there are cheaper alternatives out there. So if we could look into that as well, that'd be good. Right at the bottom, £49.99 key safe replacement.
Yep.
Why have we replaced the key safe?
Okay, do that. The key safe was broken. I don't know who by. It's outside, as you know, it's at the front door.
Oh, that one, not that one.
No, that one.
Right, okay, well, I was thinking you meant that one there.
It's the
So that's
outdoor
what
key
you-
safe, the black one.
Right.
The button on it was, for whatever reason, whether it was someone else outside or using it, the button was no longer usable. So I replaced it and that cost £48.
Yeah, that's fair comment. I've got it in my head, it was that one there, and that's why I couldn't understand why we were replacing it.
Right.
And the last thing on here is, on the 30th, it says access and lifting services. And when I looked into the other paperwork, it says fitment testing for Jail Street. Could you expand on that and tell me exactly what testing of fitments on Jail Street is, please?
Okay, I would have to look that up to be absolutely certain. Obviously, you can see it's got a white square by it, so it hasn't been paid as such yet. That's not for this consideration in this month, but I will find out, Councillor Wadsworth, before this week. I will assure you that on each three of these, I will address them, but certainly I will find the access and lifting services. Speaking off the record, and I might be wrong, it could be that this is the testing of the bolts for the Christmas lights, which we had to do urgently. I think that's right. So
Why did we only do it on Jail Street?
no, we did it everywhere. I think it might have said Jail Street, but the trouble is in the comments list, you can't put Jail Street, Mill Street, High Street, and all the rest of it. So I think all the bolts that are holding the Christmas lights up have been tested again this year for all health and safety grounds.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Clark.
you.
Councillor Brooks, do you have a brief?
Yeah, I've got 3 points, because obviously you asked me that question, and I would just like to raise some points on the thing. I'm sure we're doing it on block, are we, this week?
Unless there's anything especially contentious, yes.
Yeah, well, I just want to bring up the thing about redacting.
Sorry,
Yeah,
it just needs to have the amendment in it for the hopper, obviously.
Yeah, I need, well, we've answered, that's fine, that's answered quite quickly. I have a concern about the GDPR on the redaction, because we're still using a pen, and I'm sure, Chris, if I'm wrong, you did say to us that we bought the Adobe software. Because I actually took, because for some reason our copies of our bank statements have the account number redacted, which is good, because if we lose them, it's fine. But I held it up after the member of the public pointed out to my table lamp, and I could read the number from a copy. So we need to sort out that issue with that. The other thing is about an audit thing which came up about good practice, and I'm not going to read the names out, but there's a lot of things on here where councillors have been asked to pay for things which shouldn't happen. Where we have 10 councillor good guides, which have been, money has then been paid to a councillor. All the training which used to be paid for by the office when this was raised at an audit. So it's good practice that money shouldn't be being paid out in that way for products for the council. I don't understand why we're going back that way. What was the other thing? I said 3 things that will shut up, but I've actually forgotten it. But the third thing which I keep asking and I was told would happen, and that's to explain the reason why I don't accept the accounts, is that we are supposed to be having at least 2 members before this meeting should be verifying the payments and invoices by initialing them. And I was told that that would start when we had a finance committee, but again, it's not started. So, and people take it wrong. It's not that we don't trust the people who I kept being told, oh, well, there's 3 councillors who approve it and I reject invoices. It's not that I don't trust the people, it's the procedure that's required. So that when we come to this meeting, we can say, have these been checked by at least one of those 2 members? And they go, yes. And then we don't have to talk about it because we know the 2 appointed members, because when I was on the council last time, I was one of those people who was appointed to do it. Anyway, I'll shut up, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Police Chair.
You may answer that.
So what's your first point? Sorry, we'll go through them quickly again. The redaction.
The redaction, yeah.
The redaction. Lloyds and all banks, would you believe, when they do a PDF, they password protect it. Getting the passwords out of it to get into a PDF is like opening Fort Knox. So I can understand the reasoning behind that. The reasoning is if anybody could get into their PDFs they produce, then they could alter them and do all kinds of horrible things. I have tried to get the password from our bank. I'm struggling, that's what we're using, and I can assure you we are using, and Councillor Brooks knows this, a pen that says for redaction. So that is meant, and you could be right.
But we had a member of the public who actually published yesterday all the names of the staff against the amounts. So it can be seen, so we need to look at that document that's going online in some better way of redacting those names.
Okay.
I know one member of staff says they don't care, but we have a responsibility.
No, could I just address that, because I understand where we are with GDPR and all the rest of it. I have already verbally spoke to all staff, and none of them have got an objection. They are now willing to sign a document saying they have no objection to public money, and this is public money, going to them. They believe the public have a right to see what their salary is, just as has happened in the BBC. It's their decision, and if their decision is true. I'd like to point out, Councillor Brooks, if there was only one member of staff, how would that redaction work? If I was working here alone and you redacted my name, how could that possibly stop them not putting 2 and 2 together? Now,
I can't answer that.
No, that's a speculative question.
It's just your name.
May I interject at this point?
Sorry.
I understand and appreciate your raising the point, because it is something, if we're going to redact something, we may as well redact it properly.
Yeah, but it's not working because the printout's laser and there's a reaction between the ink and the laser.
Councillor Ainsley.
Yeah, I will mention it, that's okay. Redaction is actually done in Adobe, and I've just checked and you can't see through it, so I don't know where this pen thing is coming in.
No, it's not all Adobe because they've just squiggled across.
Okay,
Councillor Brooks, if you could just let me finish this.
Sorry.
And it's the second or third time you brought up the issue of authorisation of expenditure. Are you aware of how the Lloyds Bank account works? That's a rhetorical question, so I don't expect an answer. So what happens is that we get the invoices are sent to each of the councillors that are authorised to authorise expenditure within Lloyds Bank. This is what happens, and then the invoices are looked at and examined. As one of those signatories, I can say I do give that a close examination, as do the other 2 signatories. If there are any questions, that question is immediately posed back and we get a response. If we're not satisfied with the response, then the payment is authorised. Any one of the three councillors who does not authorise an expenditure will not be released. So I'm struggling to understand, please wait. I'm struggling to understand your point of view here, because the process with Lloyds Bank allows us to actually authorise and view the invoices and expenses. Only for it goes away.
Can I just a second, just 1 second,
Because you
Councillor.
misunderstand.
Councillor,
Yeah, sorry.
I'm going to allow this to be discussed at this meeting, and by the end of this particular piece of discourse, which is a little bit irritating as it stands because it is wasting a lot of time here, I recognise that there is a strength of feeling and an importance in getting the financial elements right. After this, I don't really want to see this kind of thing at any further meetings. Can we all agree that that is a sensible way forward? Carry on,
Yes,
Councillor.
I think there's a misunderstanding because I said there is no issue with the signatory heads. I've said that. I have no distrust and no issue with that, but what happens is that we are required, an independent person from those signatures, say councillor, is supposed to verify them before this meeting. Now, in the good old days, we used to have 2 councillors sign checkbooks, and it was my job and another councillor's job to go through and check against the invoice. It's a double checking, which is required by audit. And we used to go through and initial the checkbook stubs. So what we're saying should be happening now is that it's an audit requirement to verify it, that we just look at the schedule of payments and check them against the invoices and the payments. And when it comes to council, we can say, fine, because we can ask the questions like, we get email after email about what's this padlock for, what's that for? So we can ask that if it's me and Sally Ann that are doing it. It's a requirement that 2 people verify before the meeting. And I was told last year it would happen, but it hasn't happened, and that's my frustration. I'll shut up.
No, not at all. Councillor Ainsley.
Could I respectfully ask that, I'd love to, can you tell me where that is documented in the financial regulations?
It's not in our financial regulations, but
Well-
it's part of the audit act that we do it, and it's in the audit reports that we don't follow governance.
Okay,
So-
this
And you
is
can look at old minutes where people were
Councillor
appointed, so it's not something I've made up.
Councillor Brooks.
Sorry, Jack.
Thank you. This is clearly got quite a bit of discussion, and I think we should probably take this. If there is a lot to discuss, but it doesn't necessarily need to be in a meeting, I think we should do so online. Other than that, I think we should proceed with the meeting. I hear your points, Councillor Brooks. I think there is a discussion to be had, but I don't think we should be necessarily trudging through some valuable time at this meeting to do so, because we've
No,
got quite a
I
bit to
accept that, Chairman.
Thank you.
And my goal is to limit this.
Yeah. So unless there is any objection to anything, any of the figures that are actually within that, Councillor Sally Ann Wadsworth, you are happy with that the chairman said that the clerk's going to come back to you with the answers?
Yeah.
Very good. So on the block, let's do 9.1 to 9.6.
To do the amendment also on open hopper.
So it's
So
conditional.
Conditional on item 14.
conditional on item 14 being passed.
Very well. So the proposal is that condition on item 14 later in the agenda is passed regarding the open hopper, that we accept the financials that we've been given from 9.1 through to 9.6. Do I have a proposer to put that forward? Thank you, Councillor Wadsworth. Do we have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Nichols. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Brooks, would you like that recording, sir?
Please.
Thank you. That has carried. On to item number 10, Councillor Nichols. Would you care to introduce your papers, sir?
Yeah, so this is a proposal to take initial inquiries with regards to a CCTV camera on or near the Woodland Trust car park on Brook Road, near the primary school, on that car park for the Woodland Trust land. So this is an area where there's plenty of families, close to primary school, and plenty of people go walking around in the Woodland Trust area. But because it's out on the edge of town. It's a very remote area. There's a risk that there might be significant anti-social behaviour or even crime going on in that area. So the proposal is to seek approval from Woodland Trust for the installation of a CCTV camera to deter this kind of behaviour, to seek planning permission and any other legal requirements for the installation of a CCTV camera, and then tender for the contract to install the camera. So there may be some discussion that needs to be had before we approve that kind of thing. So that's open for the council.
Thank you very much for your feedback. Go ahead, Councillor Harris.
Thank you. You mentioned the possibility of antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
It could be, has to be.
Well, okay, so that's maybe one of the things that we need to adjust this. And I suppose what the proposal should be really is to find out what the data are regarding this. So I believe actually that the person to contact is Hugh Crouch at Rutland County Council. So if this council is in agreement, then we amend the proposal for me to be authorised to contact Hugh and actually discuss with him what the data say. So are there any police reports? You know, I have my feelings as anecdotal evidence as somebody who lives around there, but we need the actual data, I agree. So if that could be an amendment to the proposal, we can vote on that.
Well, having visited the site, I would suggest that's, anecdotally quite likely as a place of antisocial behaviour. Councillor Brooks, you have something to say?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I was, I fear this item being on the agenda because I was on the council when the school contract was drawn up, and it was very controversial because it's not our contract for the Woodland Trust. It belongs to the Woodland Trust, this car park, and a lease was drawn up with quite strict things that they can't do there. And it was a very unpleasant time, and that's all I'm going to say about it now because it's 10 years ago. But my concern is, and I'm not saying that this shouldn't be looked into, but the first concern is like, who's going to pay for it? What budget? Because there's no power there. It's not our land, it's leased to the school, so maybe they should be looking into it. And also, there's the plan which may be going to appeal across the road, and part of that plan includes a new car park. So it could be that if a new car park's put in there, that they should be discussing it. I'm not saying it is going to happen, but you know, I've got a feeling it will go to appeal because it's a big thing. But if it is successful, the appeal, then maybe you could be discussing with the developer about security of that car park. But to finish off, I don't actually believe cameras are any more a deterrent. They record crime because I'll give you one example. If you go by on a dry night past the Queen statue, you probably want to cross the road because of the smell from what's being smoked. And that whole area is covered by an 8K camera, which is visible with lights. So I don't believe it's a deterrent because from what I was told from another councillor, one of the illegal uses is the laughing gas up there. At one time they found lots of the silver canisters, but it's not going to stop them because they do it in Tesco's car park under CCTV.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. I think that it's, my personal opinion on the matter is that I think if we can support the community at large in trying at least to do it better.
Work on it.
That's Councillor Ainsworth.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. I'd like to propose an amendment. I wholly endorse this, that we should at least investigate at the very least. There may well be problems with Wi-Fi coverage, who knows. But how about consideration of additional lighting, whether that might alleviate the problem? It may not be economically feasible, but I think perhaps if you're happy to accept an amendment, that we not only consider CCTV, but the possibility of additional lighting.
Councillor Watt.
Okay. I've used this car park for donkey's years. Literally since it was built. and I've used it daily, in the morning and in the evening. And there's never been any cause for me to be concerned about any antisocial behaviour. The antisocial behaviour that happens up there happens further up, where the old shooting range used to be. But for those that don't know, you won't know. But up on the hill, under the trees, that's where all the antisocial behaviour happens. I mean, there's been times when they've taken settees and whatever else up there and made it into quite a comfy little place. It doesn't happen in the car park. Yes, we have seen the little canisters but they do that everywhere. So I don't think having CCTV there, and there isn't any electricity into the car park. There are no lights in there. So whoever was to take it on would have to pay to have all the electricity put into it, etc., etc. I think it's going to be quite a large money spender if we are to go down that route of investigating. I mean, I'm quite happy for somebody to go and speak to the Woodland Trust to just see where we stand with it, but I don't think we should be taking it any further until we know where the Woodland Trust stand on it.
Can I propose that we, with somebody else with the council, because of the two councillor rules, that we don't rubbish this, because obviously if there is, he wants to investigate, sorry, I think councillor wants to investigate with Hugh Crouchley, could we not set up a working group, if Councillor Nichols is happy, that, so that this can be looked at in a bit more depth, and if it is felt that it's needed, because Hugh does know a lot of what goes on in Oakham related with his contacts with the police. And so would you be happy if, I think Paul is going to do an amendment, if I added to it, if Paul is happy as well, that we set up a working group, perhaps it's a working group with you and the clerk, that's allowed, to carry on and just do a bit more.
Yeah, I'd be happy with all of those. As I say, it's the first step is really getting the data to see whether this is actually necessary or not. So I'm happy with all the amendments that have been proposed.
Yeah. Okay, so did you have something to say, Councillor Ramsey?
No,
No,
fine.
I saw half cocked.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's
No, no.
probably just stretching an arm.
Very well. So, given the conversation that preceded, would you care to put forward any amended
Yes.
proposal, Councillor?
Yeah, so the proposal would be for me to contact, set up a working group with me and the clerk, who would then contact Hugh Crouch to discuss the data to see if there is the necessity for a CCTV camera, and then we could bring that back to full council and discuss how we proceed afterwards.
Yeah.
And see what the costs are.
With the consideration of extra lighting, you accept that one?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
As long as it's downwards.
Oh, yeah.
Light polluting.
I'll second on that proposal.
Oh, thank you very much, Councillor Brooks. All those in favour of that proposal? There we are, that's unanimous. That's passed. Have you got what, Clark? I'm sure you can review the tape if you need to.
Just giving you a project.
Superb, thank you very much, councillors. On to item number 11, Councillor Ainsley's paper on the Twinning Association.
I have a parcel, yeah, so everybody have a look at it.
He's already done it. He's already done it. Very nice.
So the suggestion is that Oakham and District Twinning Association seeks permission to use and respectfully adapt the town crest and embroidered pennant as shown there in the example. If there's any questions, I think the rest of it is in the paper, so if there's any questions, happy to answer.
Councillor Wadsworth.
So this is just that emblem on things to do with the twinning.
Correct.
You're not expecting us to change all our bits to have that on it.
Why would you?
I don't know, I'm just clarifying in my own brain that is what you're saying.
No, this is
This
simply
is just for the twinning.
simply for the adoption, because it's Oakham Town Council's crest, and because the Twinning Association are looking to modify that crest respectfully, then it needs to come to council for it to be approved, otherwise it won't be used. We'll have to find another thing to actually That's me done, sorry. Did I tail off did I stop mid-sentence?
Councillor Brooks, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have a problem, but I do remember, and I don't know whether it's got lost by the way, but I believe we have a standing order that says that people can't amend it or use it. It may have gone by the way, but it was when I did an advert, and the reason it came out, I did an advert for the town council on my blog, and it became a standing order that people couldn't use the town council grounds.
If people haven't, we can always modify the standing order.
But I think that's fine. I think they should also be allowed to be given permission if they're going to go and visit these places, that maybe it could be double-sided and we have Oakham Town Council on it as well. Because that's who they're twinned with, aren't they? It's Oakham Town.
Sorry, Councillor Enzi, did you have a?
Yeah, I wouldn't, I think that's an unnecessary amendment, but
I don't have a problem providing that standing order got chucked out. I have a feeling, but I can't remember all our standing orders, but we need to check it, that it's not in there.
Well, assuming that is the case, then.
Let's look at it.
Yeah.
So we can put in with the proviso that it doesn't contravene our standing orders.
And that if it does, we bring it back at the next.
And we can amend the
with the
standing
amendment,
order.
with the standing order to amend.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So is it
So,
going to cost us anything?
no.
Just asking the question.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I apologise. No.
That's why I'm supporting it.
superb. So therefore, with the amendment to bring back, the proviso that it doesn't contravene an existing standing order, and if it does, that this should be brought back to the next meeting with the accompanying standing order for us to amend at that meeting. Is everyone in support of this? Who's seconding that? Councillor Brooks, fantastic. All those in favour? Lovely, unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Splendid. Okay, so item number 12, if it's all right with everyone, I'll propose this, that we move just the consideration, which this is, of the draft budget from the financial working group to after item 15, just so we don't have any misunderstanding with putting the cart before the horse, so as it were, because we've got a number of items that have a pecuniary constraint to them. If we address those prior to our acceptance of item 12, which is the provisional budget, it perhaps makes a little bit more sense. So I'll propose that. Do I have a seconder?
So it's going after 15?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well, it's one our belt and braces. All those in favour? Super, thank you. Okay, so item 12, budget moving on. So item number 13, which is the CCTV item.
Okay.
Michael Crouch.
Yeah, I'll be brief, but I think Crouch can, because, didn't put it in the report, because it's obvious here. Obviously, there's been significant investment in CCTV and Oakham, everybody can see that. If you look around everywhere, nearly everywhere, I don't know, the densities are quite high. I think there's like 12 to 16 CCTV cameras in Oakham. I'm not exactly sure of the number, but there aren't many places that I haven't seen one, especially on the high street. And obviously that investment comes with, as it says in this document, a maintenance issue. Obviously we're dealing at the moment with Rutland County Council, who knows what we'll deal with at the moment. And you can see from this report that Rutland County Council, the author here, Hugh Crouch, are seeking an annual contribution of $5,800, which will be linked to inflation to support the ongoing operational cost of the CCTV. I've seen enough evidence to say, unlike some councils here, that does have a real impact and it is already leading to the police making significant gains into criminal activity in this town. Obviously, we have to keep all of that under wraps, but I am assured by Hugh Crouch, who knows what he's talking about, as Councillor Brooks says, that this is a very, very key aspect of our eyes and ears to keep criminal activity down to a low point. It's working well at the moment. We're having arrests and we're having identifications thanks to it. So my view is this council has to consider this seriously. I'm only the town clerk, so I'm just putting this before you to consider whether you consider this as good value for money for the residents of Oakham.
Councillor
Two points, if I may. £5,800. What are we paying this year, or what are we paying?
We've never paid anything in the
We've never paid anything.
because this is
Okay, and you're saying that this is providing benefits which you're not able to or willing to say. Surely the idea of this is a deterrent, and if we are finding people committing offences and they're taken to court and they're convicted, we should be telling people about it, saying that actually these aren't dummy cameras, they're real cameras, and if you're selling drugs or drunken behaviour or whatever it may be, the CCTV cameras are watching you and you will be held accountable. So I'm not sure about that. So the first part, that we're paying 5,800 that we've not paid before. But the second part, surely we should publicise the fact that they work and they are working well.
Can I reply to that? Obviously,
Yeah.
Councillor Harris, this is not our equipment. Obviously, we've got someone from RCC who could address that, and we could ask you Crouch to actually come to a meeting if you want to. But all I can say is I had a 2-hour meeting with him, an 2-hour meeting, and he gave me details that are not for the public domain, and made it very clear to me that the statistics behind the use of the CCTV is a key element of keeping Oakham safe. And those are his key words. Now,
Very subjective.
well, of course it is, but he said the police assured him they've worked closely with the police. They are our first line of defence, and they made very clear to him that this is working and working well, because the clarity with this new system is way better than it's been in the past.
Thank you very much. Would you mind if we go to?
Well, it's,
Oh, go on.
I understand
Sorry,
that,
I'll come to you.
but what I'm talking about is providing evidence to criminals that if you conduct criminal activity in Oakham, you will be seen, you will be caught, you'll be prosecuted. If we keep that to ourselves, not you, but if that's kept to ourselves, what's the point of having it? No one will know that you're going to get caught.
I think that's, I'm sure that we can publicise that in some level of campaign. For the moment, I'm not entirely sure what Clark has been told in confidence, and I'm sure that is for good reason. But I think the overall theme of this is that when arrests, prosecutions, and the like are made, that we certainly, hail that and publicise it widely. So I support that.
I agree. I've seen it because Hugh Crouch brought it to a public meeting, the laptop, and I believe there's now 32 very clear cameras. So it's the traders meeting. But I have an issue with it coming to our council, because it is a Rutland County Council system which they paid for, I don't know how or whatever. But we pay a lot of money to Rutland County Council. We're going to come to something else soon. The percentage of our precept that's going back to Rutland County Council is astronomical. And I feel, although this system is perfect, 5,800 is not a lot to Rutland County Council. It's a lot of money to us. When you're dealing with in millions, it's not funny, you're dealing in millions. We're dealing in 200,000. And £5,000 from that is a huge amount of money. I think Hugh, good man, we have our ups and downs, but historically, but he has come to the wrong person. I think he should be going to the police and crime commissioner, because the police use this. The police can sit in a car park over there and log in and see it. That's how they catch people. But they can't, what I think Chris is saying is that they can't give out until there's convictions because of data protection, any figures of arrests or success stories from it publicly. But we can say that it's wonderful. So I don't know, the Police and Crime Commissioner has funds, lots of money, which are proceeds of crime. And I think £5,800 from the Police and Crime Commissioner's pot wouldn't actually dent it that much, because as a town, we haven't applied for anything from it. I believe the last time that they gave us money was when we needed a floodlight at the skate park, and that was £250 from the Police and Crime Commission, not this current one, but past one. So it could be something the clerk could pass on if the council agreed.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to.
Are you
I've
reaching
been
councillor?
referred to directly, yeah, please. Can I just say, firstly, on a positive, what's happened, in all credit to the licensed trade in Oakham, is they have cracked down on a lot of drug abuse and the like in the town and pushed it out of their pubs. They don't want it. And all credit to them for that. It is well known in the town that there is issues in the car parks and certain sites, which I'm in contact with the police on, residents bring to my attention, as I'm sure they bring to the attention of everybody here. That's where most of our information comes from. I'm reluctant for us, as in RCC and OTC, to get into a them and us scenario, which I can feel building here. You know, I live in the town, I pay my council tax to Rutland County Council, you get a share of it. I don't care how you spend it, so long as it's to the benefit of the people like myself in the town. So this artificial them and us, you know, the Rutland's got huge amounts of money. Yes, we've got more money than you. We've also got massive commitments, like adult social care and the SEND transport budget, which is out of control. And £5,000 is not a small sum. Let me assure you, Martin, it's not a small sum. And if every parish council in Rutland came to us and said, well, you're giving Oakham Town Council 5,000, we'd like some, please, that wouldn't go down awfully well with the budget setters. Trust me. So, you know, this is the county town. It's the biggest town in Rutland by miles. You know, if we crack it here, it's for the good of the county as a whole.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. I'm going to dive in on it at this point and let my thoughts be known. At the end of the day, this is a positive, I think we can all agree, theme. Rutland does oversee the entirety of Rutland, obviously, and this is to do exclusively with the CCTV within Oakham. So I think that some of the burden does certainly lie with us. I don't think, I mean, as you said, Councillor Brooks, 5,800 is not a small amount of money for a parish council, but I think certainly some consideration. The only issue that I perhaps do have with this myself is that the proposal is essentially to agree at this point and have no measure of control over it thereafter, because the proposal suggests that there is an annual contribution of 5.8 linked to inflation, which indicates to me that that is a perpetual payment that is going to be ongoing. What I would certainly like to see is that we agree a figure to Rutland County Council, whether that be 5.8 or otherwise, I'm not so sure. However, I would suggest that the ongoing nature of that is eliminated and we bring this back on an annual basis, if not more regularly. I think, Councillor Ainsley, you had your hand up first.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. I'd like to invite Hugh Crouch to come and chat to us. I think this is a new departure. I think that I would want, I'm not doubting anybody's word, but I'd like to see the quality of CCTV myself. I'd like to see the stats for myself, and I'd like to actually then chat about the stats and just see, particularly in the light of what was brought forward by Councillor Nichols when he suggested another CCTV at Woodlands, that, you know, there's questions about the effectiveness. So I like all those questions to be posed directly to you, Crouch. But in principle, I think it's fair and honest. I'd just like to do some due diligence by speaking directly, by giving us the opportunity to speak directly to you, Crouch. So I'd like to propose an amendment to that we actually invite him in and then make a decision.
So that we defer and come back. So have a meeting, defer.
Yeah, before the next meeting, we
discuss
get him
this.
to come in and talk to us, or at the beginning of the next meeting, or whenever it's convenient.
Thanks, Councillor Ainsley. Councillor Brooks?
Yeah, I would support that, but as the councillor mentioned about it's not fair to other parish councils. Now, I don't know whether the new system is the same as the old system. I know where it goes to, and it's a shared point, but we can't give that out in public. But obviously Uppingham feeds into it, Rutland Water feeds into it, and any other locations that Rutland County Council have. So I'm wondering how fair that figure is.
Well,
And our Uppingham Town Council, because if you're talking about over £10,000, that's a lot of money to be paying for what they've listed there.
Well, I'm sure we'll get the opportunity, should we choose to defer at this point.
Yeah, I think it needs a proper,
So,
so I would support Councillor Ainsley.
so it's, Councillor Ainsley has therefore suggested that we meet with Hugh Crouch prior to our next month's meeting. I am going to suggest that we then defer this paper until such point as we've had a chance to meet with Hugh and discuss the merits and minutiae of this particular scheme. Do I have thank you very much, Councillor Wadsworth. All those in favour?
Do we need a proposal second?
So I proposed that.
First,
You have already.
Councillor Wadsworth seconded that, sorry, is that, you got that well?
Yep.
Thank you, that's unanimous, thank you very
And
much.
I just said, one of the things we've got to be very careful on, and we have this when we used to give grants to the citizen's advice, and it's always caused a problem, is our precept can only be spent to the benefit of the Oakham residents. So if you have something like Rutland Citizens Advice, we had to ask them when we gave them grants to show us that it was for the benefit of Oakham people, and in the end they said we don't want the money. So what Rutland County Council must show to us is that
There should be a proportional nature.
that is only going to cover the maintenance of Oakham, because we can't do it for.
Yes.
I would have thought so as well, but we shall obviously.
The only thing I would say, and I'm quite surprised, but this is his paper, not mine, is I know that roughly the cost to Rutland County Council of this system for us is about 20 to 25k a year.
Yeah, but
So
we
they are
don't
not
get that
passing
tonight,
on
so-
the lion's share of the cost of the system, new system.
That certainly colours the conversation, and we shall have every opportunity to discuss that at next meeting after our meeting.
Yeah.
If you could kindly put together an appropriate time, that would be great. Thank you very much. On then to item number 14, the Oakham Hopper. This is one for Councillor Ainsley and Clark.
So this was a joint paper between myself and the town clerk, and many working group, I suppose, though not authorised. The thing is that we were in discussions with the RCC, very good discussions, very collaborative discussions. We got some interesting, you may have seen these timetables. I did try to clarify what they meant, and I have no damned idea, but we will pursue them. I think the bit I want to point out is I think that Hopper serves three distinctly useful purposes. As listed in my paper: accessibility and inclusion, promoting local attractions and supporting town events. So, although this is a 7.4% increase, there have been particular pressures on the transport fleet. So I am proposing that we accept the continued funding of the Hopper bus at 29,000 and subject to ongoing review in partnership with Rutland County Council. And I think that's the essential element. Thank you.
Councillor Harris.
I would love to see any statistics,
There are.
any details about the utilisation. I said at the last meeting about the bus driving around with nobody in it, and since that meeting I've seen it 6 times, and there were 3 people in it once, and nobody in it the rest of the time. So this is again a lot of money. It's an increase above inflation, and I don't see that it's been, I've been here 4 years, never, I don't know where it stops until I read this, I don't know where it stops, I don't know its purpose, I don't know if it's free, I don't know if I've got to pay to get on it. So if we're going to continue it, let alone spend 7% more, we must, in my view, review the marketing and the promotional side of it so that we're getting proper utilisation. I can't stand to see money being thrown at something that's not being used for whatever reason. I'm quite happy to volunteer to participate in doing that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harris. That's well received by me, certainly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not used, but it does stop outside my house empty, and probably 3 people a week use it. Not that I'm watching all the time, but it does trigger my CCTV because it's a big thing, so I know that it does run. I don't understand why we're paying so much or even being asked for this increase, because it frustrates me, because on the bus now, not only does it have our logo and Rutland County Council's at our request, because they didn't used to put us on it, it now has funded by central government. And I think that there's something not quite right as well as the statistics, because the last time this came to council, we had a sheet of paper that said over 200 people, I think it was a week, use it. And I said, that's rubbish, but I guess how that worked, because the man used to go like that. You know, they can't do it as much now because I have a bus pass where you have to tap it. But I doubt the figures, because it is running most of the time empty, but it is a vital service for some of the older people. But I question whether we, at this stage, knowing that it was reported to Cabinet, and I wasn't at that meeting and I'm relying on press coverage being correct, that Rutland County Council has an underspend of 500 and something thousand pounds on its bus services. They just brought that up. I think I can't ask the lady from the press who wrote about it, but that's what I read. There's an underspend. So I think for at least a year, we should be saying to Rutland County Council, we're not paying anything. And we need to look at this carefully, because I had a resident contact me and said, it doesn't even come onto our estate anymore because they won't go over the humps. Well, they fly down the humps in my road and across the footpaths and everything. And, you know, so I don't know what the problem is, but it needs a full review. And I won't be supporting paying £29,000 for something which I can't, and there's no disrespect for Paul, he's worked on it, but I'm not happy to approve this tonight on the proviso that we continue working with Rutland County Council, because this has been said before, not with Paul. It's been said before, and then it just sits there and nothing gets done. And we've paid a hell of a lot of money out over the years for this service. And I think it needs a real strong review of the routes and...
So a general review.
Yeah, and consultation. I asked the resident to write, I don't know if she did, but she said it's useless. We don't even know what time it runs, and they don't come onto our estate, so I have to get a taxi.
Could you kindly wrap up?
Yeah, sorry.
No, thank you, Councillor Brooks. I know it's a little irregular, but since we have the facility, if we could hear from Councillor.
The £500,000 is not to do with the bus. I think that there is a £500,000 underspend. There's a technical underspend on the entire budget of the council. It's not specific to the bus. I don't know where that came from.
Bus services.
It's not specific to that. The £500,000, you can't, it wouldn't be, no. It's to the general budget generally. On the bus point, can I put, and I think a review idea, can I mention, of course, that we now, since a year has gone by, we now have the Call Connect system up and running and proving itself to be highly popular and successful. I think 5,000 extra journeys and that. Now, it may well be that in the light of that, maybe the Oakham Hopper and possibly even the Uppingham Hopper need to reevaluate their service generally and look at maybe some connection with Call Connect, maybe a development of the system, because it's, you know, a new, completely new system. We've gone away in Rutland from set routes in the main to the Call Connect system. You're still operating here in Oakham a set route system. Maybe there's room for a manoeuvre, for development, of growth in that field, I would suggest.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. As I sort of suggest, this is it is a useful service. There's obviously a need for transportation, but I would be inclined to agree with Councillor Harris as someone who's in Oakham an awful lot. I see the buses and the Call Connect buses as well, but not a tremendous. There's not an in-your-face ability to see immediately what the service is, where it operates from, or anything else. So I would certainly support a greater level of publicity surrounding that. And I think there's certainly a conversation to be had. Moving on to Councillor Wadsworth, she was very patiently.
Well, I'd just like to say, because I live on the outer skirts of Oakham rather than the inside of Oakham, I've got a bus stop outside my house that is used very regularly. I mean, there's always people getting on and off the bus outside my house, continually all day. So maybe down where the Crescent isn't so far to walk from the town, maybe they need to expand outwards rather than going inwards. That's, you know, so yes, I agree. We do need to keep the hopper bus running, but maybe we need to review the actual route. And I know that he does stop where people ask him. If there are regular people on that bus, he will stop halfway down Lonsdale Way just to drop off Granny at the house, or I mean, sometimes he stops at the top of Crown Walk where I work, and I know he drops some people off there, but that's not on the list. But he quite often drops them off there so they can go through to the market. So to say that he's not flexible is not true.
I don't know if the accusation is made that it's not flexible, but it's, I personally don't feel it's well publicised. I think perhaps.
Publicity has always been a problem with it, because I've always been harping on about that.
But I think on balance, everyone supports it largely. Clark, sorry, I apologise.
No, that's okay. I'll just briefly, obviously me and Councillor Ainsley had 2 meetings with staff from RCC on this matter. The first issue that is really tricky, and Councillor Ainsley and me pressed this, is it's very difficult to change the route because of the fact that it's free. And because it's free, the private sector who run most of the routes around Oakham and all the rest of it can contest, because we are offering a free subsidised service against theirs. Arguably, if we go anywhere near their routes, then the staff said it's really tricky, because there have been cases up and down apparently UK whereby the subsidised route is a competition rule. So I'm just making you clear of that. I agree with what the chair has said. Let's be clear about this. This is 10% of our precept. So there's a significant feedback to Rutland County Council. In negotiations, Rutland County Council officers made it quite clear this is nowhere like a 50% subsidy. So in other words, the cost to them is significantly more than 50k. They wouldn't give me the exact figure, but they said it was significantly more. They agreed that the fact it's free is not very well advertised. I think I agree with that. I did some sums. The cost per passenger at the moment is something like £3 to £4 a passenger per trip. So it's that, well, it is. £1.98. No, that's half. You've got to put in RCC spots too. Yeah. So because obviously the 29k we see is only a small margin compared to the actual cost of the total service. So it is cost, and they cannot change it, and that's where we are. We are not, the one thing I have to say as your town clerk, we have no contract with RCC and have never signed a contract with them, with the Oakham Hub. There was a move when I joined the council to do it, but that member of staff moved on, so no signatures have ever been put on a contract between us and RCC as to how much we pay.
Very good. Councillor Brooks.
So I was on the council when this was introduced, and it was because Centrebus pulled out. They said the route wasn't feasible, and there was a law then, I don't know whether it's changed, but the reason the county council came to us was because councils under the changes of the 1980s or something couldn't run a chargeable bus service. And I think the time has come, and I would like to do a proposal that more work is done on this, as we don't have a contract with them to do it, is that we can change routes if we're going to want to include residents that want to use it, like a complete estate is excluded because someone's chose to just stop going there. Don't know who decided that, but I think this needs more work to come back to council, and there needs to be a contract drawn up so that we know where we're going, what is going to happen, where the bus is going to go, and there needs to be publicity, because that bus service, I don't know, I think things may have changed, but that bus service used to get used. I don't know whether it's because people used to use passes, but when it was Centre Bus, it was used. But when it became the hopper, it's become very little used. I don't know if it's because it's the minibuses or what, but I can't, I mean, the fact that we had no formal agreement with Rutland County Council gives me the excuse to actually say, I can't accept that we pay this. And I'll shut up now, but I would like to not stop the service, but it needs to be properly.
I myself don't disagree with the idea that we perhaps visit this as a more holistic viewpoint. Councillor Ainsley.
Yeah, so as we draw the debate to a close,
Yes.
I just wanted to actually reiterate what's been said in the paper, to actually knock over a couple of things that have been said. So, categorically state this is not funded by central government.
Well, it's got low.
I don't care what it's got on it, but it is not funded by central government. It's funded by combinations from ourselves, contributions from ourselves, and also from RCC. Somebody doubted the stats. I know how the stats are compiled, and we did actually ask at the meeting how the stats were compiled. And what happens is he ticks them off as they get onto the bus and as they get off the bus. So the number of, somebody else said it's not utilised. And, well, in the 2 weeks I added up quickly, we had 383 on week 1, the 1st and 10th, the 7th, the 10th, and 8th, the 10th, the 14th, the 10th, we had 373. So there's a substantial number of people. And I think that we are in the middle of looking at a route review, primarily because we wanted to actually expand the usability of the open hopper. So supporting town events, I think, is a useful thing. So, for example, and they came back with a cost. We also wanted to promote local attractions. So on certain days, we run out to, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, for people to go up, visit. And we have to be careful, exactly as said, because of the investment by the route, whatever that damn service is called, the Call Connect service. But actually, I personally believe that this is actually very good for the people of Oakham. I think that if we diligently look at promoting local attractions, supporting town events, I personally believe that actually this would work out well. I did some quick calculations, and I'm sure there's 100 ways, stats and all the rest of it. But I looked at the total number for the year January for 2025, and it came out at £1.45 per journey. So, and the amount we're paying. So there are, I can understand, I don't know what the RCC contribution, we did ask. Oh, we did ask the question, what happens if we stop payments? And they said the likelihood, and I think that's it, the likelihood that the service would be suspended. So that's the likelihood. That's not black and white. Okay, I've finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Can I just, whoever has the next conversation with whoever sets up this thing, could we check, because you have the Braunston Village at 7:55, which is the only bus that picks up the children. Now, if those children aren't going to Patmos anymore, that bus doesn't need to go out there anymore.
That's been discussed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't understand this at all.
I think that's, thank you.
So that just needs to be clear, whether they still need to run out to Braunston or not.
I think that if I may paraphrase a little, it seems to me that we're all in support of this, and that it is resolutely a good idea. Some of us might be a little bit concerned about the increase. My tuppence being that I wouldn't necessarily have a problem, but one an item that I might put on, if you will, Councillor Ainsley, accept it, is that obviously you put subject to ongoing review, but that we do actually actively engage with further conversation with RCC to debate about possible changes to routes, to expand the service, and to potentially give us a little bit more reach to certain well-frequented places.
I'm happy to accept that. And also invite anybody who is interested to come along to the meetings.
Absolutely.
You know, if you have a strong point of view, then make your voice heard at the meetings.
Indeed.
Good. I'm thinking of anybody who will come along and actually support the discussions.
Thank you, Councillor Owens. Yes.
I would like to re-emphasise that I think it's pretty dangerous for us, because we had it with the street lighting thing, how we had that huge increase because the contract got lost. I would like, before we agree anything, that we have this working group and we actually get some formal contract, because I can't remember the exact figure, but when we first agreed this, I think we paid about £10,000. So over the years, it's now gone up threefold, and they're talking about a percentage increase each year, but there's no, the lights did go because of the energy thing, and the understanding on that contract, which we don't have anymore, they don't have, was that it was to increase at 5% each year, but because of the energy increase, it went up thousands in the last year, and I don't want that to happen with the hopper bus. And I think as a council, we should be having some sort of contract. That's 10%, as it's been mentioned, of our preset, and we have no formal agreement, and we're just handing it.
Yeah, if I might make a counterpoint, Councillor Brooks, to that, we are, in my opinion, we are at least giving a horizon to this particular expenditure, and it is exclusively here for 25-26 and subject to ongoing review. So for me, I realise that there's importance in having a good working and robust contract in place for certain things. I think working on a bilateral agreement basis with RCC in good faith, as we have been doing, and subject to them being able to and amenable to discussing things like route and general availability and possible changes. I don't at this point myself have an issue with how this is being approached. Do we have any further?
Just what was the amendment?
The amendment, sorry, that was, I'll have to whiz back on the tape for this one. No, just that
I can suggest something from the conversation that's come, if you'd like.
Please.
Oakham Town Council approves the continued funding of the hopper bus subject to ongoing review in partnership with Rutland County Council with a view to drawing up a formal contract.
Yeah.
I certainly
I'll second it.
I will not change the word, but we will draw up a formal contract.
Well, we make step away, so I'd say with a view, if the contract terms, so
It's their the contract has to come from RCC clearly, because they're the ones who operate it, not ourselves. We can't.
We have to agree.
We have to
Yes, of
agree.
course.
Yes.
With a view to.
That's seconded by Councillor Wadsworth. All of those in favour of accepting this particular paper in its amended form? Against? Abstaining?
Do you want it recalled now? It's fine.
Can we minute that Councillor Harris has opted to join them? Please, I'd like to stitch him up, make sure he's going to come.
Well secured.
You'll get an invite.
Do you have that on
It's on my calendar. That'd be good.
Thank you very much. Lovely, thanks very much for that, everyone. On then to item number 15.
Oh, it's going backwards. Oh,
Yeah. When are we picking up 12?
After
After
15.
this, okay.
Councillor Ainsley.
Yeah, sorry about this. I am. Believe me, I will be. We have been a lot of work going on with Melanie and myself in pursuance of the last council resolution. And in pursuance of that resolution, we've come up with 3 distinct roles: a heritage architect, a specialist solicitor, and the possibility of financial advisory services, a grant writer. So the proposal was, or is, to approve the appointment of a heritage architect to prepare drawings. We had a meeting this afternoon because and if you looked at the paper that sat on your desk, there were some substantial changes to the bid from Kingsmead Design, which actually was brought to us by Clark's Construction. I sincerely believe that because of we did initially vote £20,000. That's what we voted for the actual, and it's clear that from the, both quotes from Mills and from Edison's are in the circa 18K, 18.5, and Kingsmead Designs was largely north of that with a revised quote of 35,800 because they had included VAT and that's excluding VAT to give an equal playing field. Now, there's also been some movement in that, Councillor Harris, what would you like to say about the fact that there is a local architect who may well be interested? So I would like to propose that we defer item 1 until such times as we have 3, possibly an additional quote, and we'll also have the quotations from the specialist solicitor, which I think is going to be instrumental in our decision. After all, this is a significant investment and probably the biggest project that Oakham Town Council's undertaken. I could well be wrong, but it seems significant to me. And it would be useful to get a full idea of what the heritage architect costs are going to be and what the solicitor's bill is likely to be. The thing we won't have, of course, is the actual cost for the works, but with the specialist solicitor, the discussion that was had with him before they come back with a quotation for the work necessary is that we would be looking to restrict our investment to so that we are so the public money is protected, whether it's actually coming from SIL, so it isn't preset, but that money needs to be protected. And for now and for the future, so that we're not railroaded in some sort of development. So that would be very important to actually, and the solicitor said that there are mechanisms to do that. And that we would then get a substantial lease for our investment. So I think that if we were to treat this as a discussion paper, and that I would like to withdraw proposal 1, that we actually decide on a building or a heritage architect at this stage, primarily because I think it'd be more useful for council to get a complete view of the likely costs other than the building costs, which is going to have to come once we have a heritage architect do their necessary work. I think that'd be far more useful to council. The only thing against that,
Councillor Ramsey, apologies, are you suggesting that we withdrawing or deferring?
Sorry, yes, bad wording. Thank you very much. Defer until December until we've got the necessary information together. I think it's all a bit rushed at the moment, and this is not something we should be rushing. So I think that defer that for the approval of the heritage architect, which has the unfortunate consequence that we are being told by the trustees that the Victoria Hall is likely to have to be mothballed post-Christmas. Now, they were talking, things are very fluid, and they were talking about actually perhaps being able to drag on for a little while longer. But nonetheless, the longer we delay our decision, especially in the light of the fact we have to give 6 months notice here. So any decision we do make, and if we do get the position where we have to give 6 months notice, there's a further 6 months for any decision we make. So there is a bit of pressure to say, if we're going to help the hall, then that should be done in good time. But it does seem to me that this being such a major contract, that it's not a decision to be rushed. I have completed. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone, sorry, Councillor Brooks, you have a query? No?
No, I want to say something because he said it's a discussion paper, Councillor Ramsey.
I'm suggesting that's where we go, yes.
Yeah, but only when you're ready for me to talk.
I see.
Because I have a couple of questions about past resolutions and as well, and concerns.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Brooks.
Okay, we talk about 6 months leaving here. I have a very serious concern if the trustees are now at the stage of practically giving up. Why have they not gone to the Charity Commission and gone into liquidation, where the Charity Commission would appoint people to sort it out? Why have we not moved there? 6 months ago, I believe it was, we sat here and I made an amendment and we voted to move there. We had a contract drawn up for 5 years rental, and we asked the office to ask the solicitors to look at it and ask the solicitors to contact the trustees to extend it from 5 years because of the cost of moving Nothing was done. No, it hasn't been done because we've got no legal fees for those solicitors. So you said to me, Councillor Ainsley, we've moved on from there. You made the decision that nothing would happen. Now, if we'd gone through that, we'd probably be moving in this month. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't care because I know the rent was cheaper if we were paying the same rent here, there, and then the trustees would have an income so we could work towards improving things by being there. So I would like an explanation of why the council's resolution was ignored and why at the last time this was brought to council, we made a resolution that we spend up to £20,000 on a consultant's report to give us the information we need to make that final decision to move in this month or December, January. Where's that report? I'll sit down because you know, there are two resolutions from this council that have not been acted on. Quite important. And why on earth, sorry, can I stand up here? Why we're going, I'm pleased we deferred that because if we did take it on, in whatever capacity, I would hope we'd be going down the road of lottery heritage grants. And they paid for all that. I did a grant application which came nowhere for Melton Road in the town. And we went to Market Harbour, a group of councillors years ago, and everything was paid for by Lottery Heritage because they want to see that their money is spent properly. We don't even need somebody to write up a grant application. They do that with you. And you get nice tea and cake, by the way.
Can I respond? Yes.
Please.
Yes, go ahead.
So I think unfortunately you believe that everything is set in aspect. This is a very fluid situation. The trustees did not want to extend a lease agreement to us, although we did agree it in council. Remember, it isn't just our agreement. We have to have the agreement with the trustees to accept the lease. And so the trustees are in a position now where they're saying that we can't even go staggering on until Christmas and we have to mothball the whole thing. So if we moved in, there was no offer of a lease given back to us from the trustees. So they didn't actually physically withdraw that offer, but the fact that they were going to actually mothball the premises and that we moving in could not support their ongoing expenditure, and it made that they were unable to continue, made it a moot point whether we moved in. I'm thoroughly pleased that the trustees were so open and honest with us. So I think we need to get away from looking at this as a solid set in stone or set in aspic set of circumstances. There is a great deal of work to be done on the premises. There's a huge amount of expenditure to be invested in those premises. And it isn't simply a case of saying we had a council resolution and therefore why have we ignored it? Nobody has made a decision in this council to actually stop that lease going forward. That is a decision of the trustees.
But that wasn't reported.
Please, Martin, don't interrupt.
Sorry.
So the position of grants, yes, I could not agree more. There has been initial feelers put out about grants, but these things do not move at pace. So, but yes, it is being considered. So I'd like to stand by the proposal that says we withdraw item 1 and use this as a discussion stroke information update.
So I come back on just last.
Very briefly.
What I find frustrating is that is the first I've heard that Victoria Hall trustees didn't want to do anything with our lease. That should have been reported back to council because we had a legal resolution saying most people in this room thought we were going to be moving there. So I personally, I would like to walk away from it because that building will not go to rot. If the trustees cannot manage it, and I looked this up, they should be going for voluntary liquidation to the Charity Commission, who will then appoint trustees. It's happened in a community centre in Leicestershire, and they find solicitors and people as temporary trustees, and they work on getting it back up and running and then they appoint trustees from the community when they are satisfied. Because to be honest, if we go down this route of paying £48,000, where are we going to get the money from to actually do the work which we've been told is going to cost in the region of £400,000? So with it being mothballed, it's going to deteriorate because the heating's obviously not going to be on. And I just think we will be wasting money now doing anything else on this. We should work with the Charity Commission and say, as a council, we're willing to take it on. But I don't think this is necessary at this stage to keep spending money. And we did do a resolution that we were going to get professionals to report to us this month. That was the £20,000 budget. And I don't have a report, no disrespect to you, Councillor Ainsley, but I don't have a professional report in front of me that we were promised.
So, okay, I appreciate both sides of, well, I don't think they're conflicting viewpoints, to be quite honest. It's clear to me that, as Councillor Ainsley suggested earlier, this is a huge project, enormous, and I think we all appreciate that. I understand, Councillor Brooks, that you're concerned that we passed a resolution to move in there. However, I think it's, but also that it is absolutely prudent that we do so when we approach the whole Victoria Hall element with great caution. I appreciate what you're saying regarding the fees that we're spending and the likes of. Now, what we are afforded presently, having not taken occupancy of this building at the current time, is that we still have the full ability to do as we may. We can walk away from it, as you suggested, we can go in as we originally planned, but we can at least from this place manage our level of risk, I think, appropriately. I hear what you're saying about the grant applications, and I think that's certainly something that we should approach potentially the trustees and by extension the Charity Commission about, to try to get perhaps a bit of a roadmap as to what the various outcomes might be from this. Because I don't think that Oakham Town Council should be footing the bill in its entirety. I would not support that in any sense. I think there is funding and available resource out there from large bodies to help this sort of thing along. Councillor Wadsworth.
Did the trustees give us a reason why our lease wasn't up to scratch?
Simply, they couldn't run the hall on that because they didn't have the business and because of the refurbishments. That's what they said.
I'm a bit confused because if I was a business and somebody was offering to move into the business to pay me money so that I could afford to have things done up, I'd go for it.
May I come back on that?
In my mind, obviously I'm just a woman. They
No, don't say that.
if we were in there and we were paying the Victoria Hall rent that they're not getting at the moment, surely that's a bonus for them rather than a headache. I mean, they've got the lady that's still at the front, that's still paying rent. What happens to her when they mothball it? There's the dog groomer at the back that's paying rent. What happens to her when they mothball it? The grain store run the upstairs. So, what's going on up there? I mean, did they pay rent to have the bar there, or I don't know what the situation is with the bar, but I know it was all done out for the grain store at one stage because the gentleman from Wheatsheaf was going to take it on, and then he was messed about by the trustees, like we're being messed about by, from what I can see. But, this sort of money that they're asking us for to do all these things, it would be lovely if we had that sort of money. But we haven't got that sort of money. But the Victoria Hall, if we moved in there, would be getting some kind of money in their pocket that they seem to be saying, oh no, that's not good enough for us.
They don't want
I
to.
certainly appreciate what you're saying, sir, Councillor Wadsworth, sorry. I think from a short-term perspective, that is something that perhaps would be a bit of a consideration. However, long-term, I don't think that our occupation, this is only my personal view, I don't think that our occupation would be a sufficient stay to ensure the long-term improvement and sustainability of that building in its current form. I think perhaps certainly more funding is needed. The methodology that we approach going in there needs to be reviewed, because I am aware that statutory bodies occupying certain buildings preclude you from certain types of funding, for instance. So I think it's an incredibly delicate and complex situation, and until we've got at least a basic understanding of the long-term effects of what we're going to do and the costs importantly to the council, I think that we should approach this quite cautiously.
I'm just concerned that we're going to be spending more money on something that isn't going to happen.
Well, this is what I'm
Like the
saying.
Princess Avenue. We spent a lot of money on Princess Avenue, getting pictures drawn and things done, and now that's gone on a back burner. But we spent money on it, and now we're doing the same with the Victoria Hall. We're going into the Victoria Hall, we're looking at this needs doing, and this needs doing, and that needs. Well, those things have been needed to be done for years. It's not like it's just happened.
No, but we've now, for instance, the survey, that's necessary to understand the full scope of what we would be walking into, whether we're directly responsible for the financials of remedying those situations or otherwise. At least now we have full visibility of what actually needs doing from a buildings perspective.
Which is fine, but why go spending even more money on something that, to me, looks like the trustees don't want us in there, because they're not giving us anything.
I'm not debating.
No, sorry, yes,
No, but I'm just saying the resolution is to defer now, not to debate.
Right, and then there was an open paper to discuss, so that's what I was doing, but okay, if we want to just defer the whole thing, then let's get on with it.
Can I make a proposal? Can I